Okay, I think I am live now. Yes. Cool. Oh, hi, Guanambe. Hi, El. Hi, Adrian. Hi, Graciela. Hi, Salim. How are you doing? Thank you so much for joining us. Can you guys hear me okay? Hola, hola, Adrián. ¿Qué tal? Awesome. I hope you're all having a good start of the week. Happy Monday. I hope that everything is going good, and happy holidays if I haven't seen you before. Hope you're doing good. Hi, James. How are you doing? Buenos días. ¿Qué tal? And we have just 3 minutes and 22 seconds to start, guys. So just waiting for the time to go through and waiting for the food to arrive, because obviously without the food, we're not going to do much. Hey, Joy. Joy, how are you doing, Joy? Thank you so much for joining us from Australia. Hey, Jay. Hi, long time no see. How are you doing? Hope you're doing good. Happy holidays. Hi. Well, I hope you're all doing good. I'm sorry once again to be bringing food to the screen and not being able to share it with you, but I hope that at least you'll find it interesting. We actually have an extra tapa that I wasn't counting with, so that's gonna make things interesting. Oh, happy to join me from Spain. Yay. Yes, thank you, Joy. Hope you're doing good. It's actually quite windy today, which is why we're indoors. We were gonna do it outside as usual, but well, we had to change things, swings and roundabouts, but should be good. Enjoying my visit with my family. Yes, of course. In fact, my family are here, but they are remaining anonymous. They are just coming here for the food. That's the only reason why they're here. But yes, everything is going really good, and it's my mom's birthday tomorrow, so it's gonna be really, really cool. Hey, John from Norwich, how are you? Hi, Jim from Indiana. Thank you so much for joining, guys. Hope you're having a good day so far. Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. Tariq and the Bears, how are you guys doing? I haven't seen you for a while. Hope you're doing good. But yeah, just gonna... ¿Esto está para comer ya? Sí. Just making sure that one of the tapas we have is ready. This is actually food. It's not a coffee. Don't worry, I'll show you in a moment. Hey, Rick. Thank you so much for joining. Hi, family. Happy birthday, Lily's mom. Felicidades.
Thank you.
She says thank you. I don't know if you could hear her. Excited for tapas. I'm hungry for tapas. So there we go. Hi, Rick. Hi, Serene. Thank you so much for joining. The Bears are fine, but oh, you have the flu. I'm sorry, Tariq. I hope that the tapas can cure your flu virtually. Maybe. Virtual cure for the flu. No, please take care of yourself. I know there's been lots of flu going on around this year, so stay warm, stay hydrated. So yeah, thanks everybody for being here. And we just have literally 34 seconds to go. So I'm just gonna grab some little drink, and then we'll get started when the clock goes. And just to let you know, my chat is going a little bit slow. So if it takes me a moment or two to see your comment, I'm just letting the thing catch up, essentially. Hi, Elena. How are you doing? Thank you so much for joining. Hope you're doing good. And okay, we're literally just about to go live. So let me center things properly on my end. Make sure that I've got everything at hand. Okay, and we're in the green. So hi, everybody. Most of you know me, but I'll introduce myself anyway. So my name is Dr. Lilian Céspedes González. Just call me Lily, long Spanish name. There's no need for anyone to do that tongue twister. And, normally we're doing tours out and about, talking about history, culture, and whatnot. But today, since I'm in Spain, and I know you guys like to eat, I've decided to take you on a second surprise food tour. So we're going to be doing some tapas today. We are in a cafeteria called the Café Royalty. So it's in the corner of one of the streets that we walk about. If you've been with me before in the Santander of the disasters, we're literally in one of the corners of that street. So just to put things in context. And today we're just going to be sampling a couple of typical tapas from here, from Santander. Hi KG, how are you doing? Thank you so much for joining. So we're just waiting for the main thing to come through, which are the rabas. And I've already got my drink, which is a traditional Spanish drink, mosto. And we have an extra thing that I would like to show you, which is actually a little soup, essentially, a little stew, which is done with garlic. So first things first, let me show you my drink. Thank you, James. I really like my earrings too, that are handmade by one of my best friends. So this is what we call a mosto. Probably looks like juice to you guys, but it's essentially all done with grapes. This is kind of like the process prior to making wine. You know, here in Spain, we work with grapes a lot, and you can have grape juice, you can have mosto, and you can have wine. And depending on what type of grape you use, the mosto or the wine or the juice is obviously going to be on the pale side of things or red. And the mosto is essentially the juice of the grape that has been done without popping out the seeds. If you literally grab the grapes and liquate everything, seeds included, that's just normal juice, essentially. But mosto is what you have without the seeds and in the first steps of doing wine. So this is essentially the way winemakers have to check whether their wine is going to be good or not. If they make mosto and the mosto is good, then they know that the wine that's going to come out of that is going to be really nice too. Hi Aaron, hi Dorley, how are you doing? Thank you so much for joining us. So as you can see, it has a similar look to many wines. The difference is that this has no alcohol whatsoever. So as you guys know, I don't drink, so this is perfect for me. It has maybe a bit more of a stronger flavor than a traditional juice. It tastes a lot more like grape. It's a bit more concentrated, but it is the same consistency. And here in Spain, we like to put bits of another fruit inside our drink. With mosto, normally what you have is a slice of orange. That's what we have here today. In some other places, they put like little candied fruit inside that we call a guinda, but we don't have that here today. We have just the orange peel. We are eating tapas, Dorley. Thank you so much for joining us here. And this is what mosto essentially is. It's not my favorite mosto. I prefer the red type, but that's just because I generally prefer the taste of red grapes than white grapes. But again, that's down to taste. It's like if you like, vino tinto or vino blanco, it's the same kind of deal. But this is what we're drinking today. So if you ever come to Spain and you want to try something that is non-alcoholic but is still very typical Spanish, mosto is the way to go. And that is spelled M-O-S-T-O. So a drink for you guys. Now, if my dad allows me, I will show you his drink. Which is another thing that you cannot buy, for example, in the UK, and you can have anywhere else. So, in Italy, this is the glass bottle that it comes in. It's called bitter cas. Cas, it's a very Spanish thing. It's kind of like a version of Fanta, essentially. But they do this other drink, which is a bitter. This doesn't have alcohol either, and it looks like this. It's fizzy, okay? And it essentially tastes like... What does it taste like? It tastes bitter. My mom says tastes bitter. Of course, it's called bitter gas. But it's kind of like a citrusy, blood orangey flavor. It's a hard flavor to describe if you've never had it before. But if you like that type of sharp citrus and with a bit of fizz, that's really the kind of thing. It reminds me personally of like a blood orange, but it's not exactly a blood orange at all. My dad is in fact looking at me like, oh, you crazy girl, it's not a blood orange at all. But it does look festive, but you don't drink this just because it's Christmas. This is something that you drink literally all year round. You don't need to have a special occasion to be drinking either mosto or bitter cas. Hi, Sherilyn, how are you doing? Hey, Jeannie. Hi, Jen from South Australia. Thank you so much for joining us. Yeah, it's if you guys drink alcohol, I guess the closest thing to it is kind of like a non-alcoholic Campari or Cinzano. Again, drinks that are a bit more popular in Spain and in Italy, so they may not be familiar to you guys in other parts of the world, but that's essentially what this is. And this is normally what people order to go out. If you want to be a bit fancy and you don't want to just be drinking a Coca-Cola and you're not drinking proper wine, then this is what you would order. A little, I am calling you fancy. Yes. My dad is doing the side commentary. I don't know if you can hear him with the microphone. But this is what we have. So for those of you who have just joined, Mosto and Bitterkas. And my sister just arrived, so we're just gonna move to let her sit down. My sister is gonna order probably an orange cas, which is what she drinks. Or lemon cast. Sorry, she's now correcting me. Hola, Papa. Ginny says. Hi, Peter. Thank you so much for joining us here. So now that you see what we drink when we go out normally, without it being any specific, normal occasion, I'm going to show you a tapa, which is perhaps unusual and that a lot of people maybe don't expect from Spain. But remember that we are in the north of Spain. We're in Cantabria, where right now is super windy. We have yellow alert for wind. It rains just as much as in the south of England. And currently the temperature is of about 16 degrees. But with the wind that we have blowing, the thermal sensation is more of like 13 or 12. So it is quite chilly. Hi, Francis. How are you doing? Thank you so much for joining. Right. So I'm just going to turn the camera around so I can show you what this tapa is. So as you can see, it's probably not what you were expecting to see for a tapa, but this is, we call this a caldo. Caldo literally means just a broth. And this, as you can see, has bits inside. The broth is made with, que tiene ajo y carne. It's essentially, it's what we call callos. Hi, Kevin. How are you doing? Thank you so much for joining. Callos is a hard thing to explain. It's essentially the insides of the animal, really, and it can be all kinds of things. It can be intestines, it can be gut, it can be the lungs, it can be all sorts of things. It tastes quite tripe, yes, offal to some extent, yes, but not in the same way that we prepare it in the UK. But yes, this is what we have. So this is the one that they've just bring in from my sister, and that's the one that is there waiting for me to eat it. So how do you drink it? Well, you can literally just drink it and then have the meat afterwards, or you can just fish it out and start having the meat on its own. And it's warm. This is a warm soup. It's not like, other soups that we have in Spain that can be a cold soup. In fact, I don't know if you can see, but this one is actually still steaming. Is it spicy? Not spicy in the sense of hot. It doesn't have a lot of heat to it. It does have taste. The garlic is, well, I don't know. It's definitely quite poignant. And it has some spices to give it flavor, but it's not spicy in the sense of being strong. So I'll turn the camera around and bring you back to my level. So I haven't actually tasted it just yet. So I can show you how this works. Right. So we're literally just gonna taste this. Sabía mucho a pimentón. Sí. It's got pimentón, which is essentially our version of paprika. It's not really paprika. It's not the I don't know if you could hear my mom. No, pimentón is not paprika. It is similar, but it's not the exact same way of paprika. In fact, there is a type of paprika that we work with here in Spain that is quite popular, which is the pimentón de la vera. And it actually has a specific origin place where it's cultivated. It has a special sign that makes it authentic and like a protected produce, essentially. Hi, Virginia. Thank you so much for joining. Hope you're doing good. They have something similar in Ethiopia. Oh, that's cool. I've never been to Ethiopia, so I would like to know more about this thing. But this is essentially what you see. It's mostly just garlic, this pimentón, which is kind of like a smoky paprika, and guts. And that's the soup that they've put for us here today, just as a side tapa. So this is something very common in Spain, not everywhere. And I would like to point this out. This doesn't happen everywhere you go. Hi, Virginia. Thank you so much for joining. Hi, Linda. How are you doing? So there are many places, but not everywhere, in Spain where you go out for tapas or for something, for a little snack, and they will bring something out as a courtesy, but not everywhere. And in some places, they will put things out on the table that you can have, but if you have them, you pay for them. For example, in many places in Seville, in Portugal as well, and in more touristic areas, you may find yourself in a table like this with like a little basket with bread and even olives. If you eat them, you pay for them. If you don't, obviously you don't. In most places where they give you a little tapa like this, it's a complimentary tapa. So it's essentially kind of like an appetizer to, keep you going until they bring out the thing that you've ordered. So let me have a sip of this. It's very comforting for a day like today when it's quite windy and not so good. And right now, the main course has arrived. Hi, Zina. How are you doing? Thank you so much for joining us. The tapa that we had ordered was rabas, because rabas is a typical tapa from Santander. And it's a little bit controversial because this may look familiar to a lot of you, but I can guarantee you is not what you think it is. So let me... ¿Vais a echarle limón? Sí? Okay, bye. We're just discussing how we're gonna eat this because it's for sharing, obviously. So let me just show you. So our main tapa today is rabas. As you can see, they bring you out the little lemon in there, so you can decide whether you're having this with the lemon or not. What is this? Well, essentially, this is a type of calamari. I'm not sure which calamari they serve in this place. Different places across Santander use a different type of calamari, and they do it in a different way because of the flavor or the texture. But here we're fairly confident it's just traditional squid. And this is not like the fried squid that you see in many other parts of Spain. A lot of people that go particularly down south, they would have eaten calamares a la romana, which is like the round shape of the squid that almost looks like I guess like an onion ring, but with squid. The batter is different. The way the squid is cooked is different. The way the squid is cut is different. So this is the way we do it in the north. Essentially, we grab the squid and we cut it on the long side normally. And then again, the way you make the batter is very specific to every different place that you go here. I don't know if you can see if I get a bit closer. This is a very thin, very light batter, quite crispy. It's not crunchy, and it's literally just egg and flour, nothing else. This doesn't have like croutons or breadcrumbs. It's just very, very, very light. Right. I am now going to have some rabas. This is literally like our favorite thing here because, as you know, Santander is a fishing port. It's been a port its whole life. And as you can see, people are hungry. Here, everyone is attacking the rabas while I'm talking, which means there will be no rabas when I get there. But this is the most typical tapa that you can have when you come to Santander, or in general in Cantabria, I would say. If you're coming to the northern coast, rabas is what you're gonna ask, is what you're gonna order. It looks similar to a Geminite soup made of the outer part of the cow intestine. I will, if you know what that's called, Darlie, I would love to check it out. Hi, Catherine. Hi, Monica. How are you going? Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us here. So, as you can see, this is the idea. We share some rabas, and as you've seen, everyone has gone and dig up from the same plate. Why is that? Because the idea of going out for a tapa is that you share it. It's a social situation. You share it with people, and you have a bit of a moment with your friends, with your family, or whatever. Sí, okay, no. So that's the idea. As you can see, rabas, 2 mostos, and the caldo. And well, yes, Dorley, sorry, I'm just coming back here. Yes, I mean, this is a thing, and it actually was very crucial for Spanish people when COVID happened. This is the way we socialize. You go out for coffee, you go out for tapas, you go for merienda. Spanish people like eating. I don't know what you want me to say. We are like that. we eat and we share that food with the people that we love, which is how I've been brought up. To me, it doesn't seem weird. In fact, it's essentially how I live my life. But this is how we do it. And of course, when COVID came about, it was an issue because, I mean, we're all quite close in here. I mean, the table is long, but it's quite thin. And of course, keeping distance is impossible. Now, most places in Spain, because of the weather, thankfully, have an outside terrace where you can be a bit more spread out. The problem is, I don't know if you can see the wind blowing just there. And we have, like I said, yellow alert for wind, and it's impossible being out there with the gimbal. It would just go flying. But this genuinely did affect the way Spanish people socialized, and a lot of bars that previously didn't have a terrace had to take a special license to get it out, so people could still, go out and socialize and be sociable. So it is a very cultural thing, and when we can't make do with that, it affects us somehow. Right, I'm gonna try the rabas because everyone is making me so jealous. So normally what you do is you get given one of these and you just literally dig in and you try it. So this is my first victim. Now the thing that you need to be careful when eating this is that sometimes squid has like little tendons, little bits of the food itself that can get stuck in your teeth. So you just need to be careful if you find one of those to bite through them properly. But otherwise, a raba is good if it has a bite, but it's soft. That's all right. It has the seal of approval, which means we can carry on our consumption of rabas. Now, my favorite part of the raba, I don't think we have any today here. We don't have rejos. Is rejos. That's literally the part where the squid, has the tentacles. I like that better because when you fry that goes really crispy. It has a lot of crunch and it has a bit more flavor. So again, it depends where you eat, how they prepare it. The experience is going to be a bit different. Almost every little bar in Santander has their own way of making rabas. So you could literally go on a food tour, even just in this one street, and you stop for rabas in every single place, and it would be completely different. Even though it's, produce coming from the same bay, flour and egg are flour and egg, and whatnot, because every place has a different way of cooking it. Do they do it steamed in a tomato sauce with garlic? No, John. That's you should have seen my dad's reaction. No. That's a southerner thing, a very southerner thing. We don't do that here. We really like appreciating the product. We really like appreciating the product for and you're lucky, John, that it was my dad that was here. If my mom was to hear the tomato and garlic sauce, she would have a heart attack. She's putting a funny face now. But yes, that's that type of eating calamari, of eating squid, is definitely a more southerner way of doing it. We do have calamari stews and things like that here in the north, of course, where at the end of the day we're fishermen. And that's how we operate. But no, we would here in the north we would never cook it that way. And as you can see, there are some parts of the raba that are a little bit darker. Again, that all has to do with which part of the squid has been taken and whether it is the underbelly or the outside of the actual squid. For me, the tastier part is the one that has the little bit of the pink, which is the outside. It has a slightly different texture and it tastes more like the sea. I guess it's like salty sea water. The underbelly mostly just tastes quite bland and it's just, squid. Pretty bland flavor. Hi, Carol. Hi, Rosemary. How are you doing? Thank you so much. We're just having some tapas for today's food tour. So thank you so much for joining us. I'm tasting the next one. And these ones are quite thin. Some other places make them quite thick. But this is the thing. A lot of people come to Spain thinking that this is normal everywhere, and that's not true. And this is something that I really wanted to talk to you guys about. Every single Spanish town, pretty much, has their own traditional tapa. So I wouldn't say that you would order the same thing here in Santander to have a traditional experience than in the south of Spain. Steamed squid is heresy, right? No, we can have steamed squid, and we like steamed squid. It's just that the traditional tapa is fried, but we do have steamed squid, but in other circumstances. For tapeo, for sharing, this is the right format here in the north, which is also the reason why I want to make sure you guys understand this. What we think here in the north is a sacrilege to squid in the south is perfectly common, acceptable, and fine. Hi Susie, hi Tapio, how are you doing? Thank you so much for joining us. So if I think a lot of people think of tapas as I don't know. I often think that the idea of tapas in the rest of the world is really misconstrued and everyone thinks it's the same thing everywhere, but it's not. The idea of the tapa, I'll explain you where the origin of the tapa comes from, but let me have a sip of my mosto first. My sister is eating me like, will this girl stop talking so I can carry on eating my rabas and I don't have to wait for her to eat one more? My sister loves rabas. We like our food in this family. But the origin of the tapa is actually relatively recent. It started at the end of the 19th century, early 20th century. Many allege that down south, jury is still out on that one. We don't have final proof. And it was essentially a way of keeping people ordering more drinks. So you would go to a bar and you would order a mosto or a wine, whatever. And the reason why it's called a tapa is because they would put something on top of your glass. Normally, a bit of ham or chorizo or salchichon, kind of to cover the drink. Then you had something to eat with your drink, and so on and so forth. A tapa, literally means cover. That's where it comes from, because you created a cover. The reason why most people call this now tapas is simply because, as you go to places like I show you, then they give you sometimes the complimentary tapa. It's just now doesn't necessarily cover your drink. It's just like an appetizer. But that is where the idea of tapa comes from. And in fact, the vast majority of the time in Spain, what we call tapas, we also call it ración. And ración literally means just a portion of food that you're taking out for sharing. So, don't think that tapas has to be a specific type of food. It's just a specific way of eating, if that makes sense. Right, let me just catch up with the chat quickly. What is considered north versus south? Virginia, this is a controversial question. No, well, generally speaking, it's quite a clear division. The historical and cultural north of Spain is literally what we call the Celtic fringe. So in Spain, there are some mountains called the Cordillera Cantábrica, the Cantabrian Mountains, which generate a section of the north of Spain where I live, which is greener, is by the sea, and it's much more secluded from the rest of the peninsula. Because of historical reasons, a lot of the time there is adjacent areas to that part of the mountains that are considered the north of Spain, like the north of Castile, the north of the Central Plains, but mostly the north of Spain is considered to be Galicia, where our colleague Monica is, Asturias, Cantabria, the Basque Country, and some of the adjacent provinces from Castile. That's it. If you want to be geometrical about it, technically speaking, up from Madrid is north, down from Madrid is south. But most people won't buy you that definition. The north is where I am and 4 more friends. That's it. The south of Spain really is what is southern from the vast majority of the rest of Europe, if you think about it, because the Cantabrian Mountains are just an extension of the Pyrenees and the Alpine development of Spain. So it's all of that part of Spain that is in the Mediterranean that is really the south. But that's normally how the definition goes. But again, this is kind of like what is the north and the south of England. Depends who you ask. But that's more or less how it works. Excellent. What makes the mosto yellow? It's literally just the type of grape. If this wasn't done with red grapes, it would be red mosto. This one is just done with white grapes, just like wine. Literally the same thing. Hi, Camilo. Thank you so much for joining. I guess it is what you get used to. Yeah, 100%. It's hard for the idea of eating squid and octopus. Well, yeah, but then again, for me, squid and octopus is my day-to-day. This is my bread and butter. And if you throw some prawns in there and a little bit of anchovies, then we're in full swing here in Cantabria. Right, okay, I have the last raba that they've left me. La de la vergüenza, that we call it. Vergüenza means shame in Spanish. So, at least in British cultures, no one wants to eat the last one because it's perceived to be impolite. In Spain, they're essentially just looking for someone to finish it off so you can move on and eat something else or pay. So that's why it's the one of the shame, and I'm having the one of the shame. Graciela, what's the difference between tapas and pinchos? That's a very good question. And actually, they're very much adjacent. They are related. Pincho normally is a type of food that has a bit more consistency, and that is a slice of something in many ways. You can think of a pincho de tortilla, but a pincho can be something on a slice of bread. It can be... It has to have some form of solid base. And in fact, pinchos originally come from the Basque country. Gracias. So if you go out for tapas in the Basque country, you probably go out for pinchos. They've taken us some more food, which is another very famous tapa here in Spain, which is croquetas. But yes, that's mainly the difference between tapas and pinchos. Normally, a pincho has a solid base and is a portion of something else. And in the Basque country, you go out for pinchos. And the best place to go out for pinchos, I would say, in the Basque country is probably Vitoria. In Vitoria, you can go out for pinchos really good. And in fact, they even have a festival of pinchos where you can literally go to every single restaurant. And in the same way that I'm telling you, you can go and have different tapas and different rabas here in Santander. Each restaurant or bar will have their own specific pincho, gourmet or not, that you try and, for whatever reason, recipe, etc. That's why. Hi, Cheryl from Preston. How are you doing? Oh, thank you so much, Jeannie. You're very kind. Geographical solidarity always amuses. Yeah, it is the same in the UK for sure. We had an exchange student from the Basque country. Well, Basque cuisine can be similar to Cantabrian cuisine, but the Basque actually have a very specific cooking tradition, which is rooted in their history, which is different from the rest of Spain. So Basque food is actually really tasty, but very specific. What is the nearest airport for Santander? There is an airport here in Santander. It's a very small airport. It literally has like six boarding gates, something like that. Seven boarding gates, sorry. But otherwise, Madrid is about 4-hour drive or 4-hour on the train, and Bilbao, it's just 1 hour away from here. Bilbao is in the Basque country. That's the easiest way to get to the north of Spain. But there you go. Thank you so much, guys, for the tips. Very much appreciated. Now, let me have some mosto so I can taste the croquetas before my sister eats them for me. And so I can show you. She's been told off by my mom. So now she's just left a half open croqueta so we can look at it. And not because she totally wanted to eat it. So there you go. Now she's looking at me like, you're killing my groove, man. Honestly, going out for tapas with a traditional Spanish family can be very amusing just in its own right. Okay, so I suspect nothing changes. So I suspect many of you have heard about croquetas before, but in case you haven't, let me show you. So, a croqueta, here goes my dad to demonstrate, is essentially, to me, croquetas are the most amazing thing in the world. Like, if I had to choose something to just live on for the rest of my life, it would be croquetas, and I would never look back. I would probably end up with very, very bad cholesterol and blood pressure, but I would do it. So, As you can see, this is on the inside of the croqueta. It does look good, doesn't it, Virginia? It's generally very tasty. Now, what is a croqueta? Well, a croqueta is essentially a resource food that Spanish people came up with to deal with leftovers. Okay, so a croqueta literally can have anything that you want inside. I may have some recommendations as to what goes better inside a croqueta than others, but a croqueta can literally have anything inside. Just you can now go and have the croqueta, Miriam. Don't worry. So these ones have son de jamón, ¿verdad? These ones are the most traditional ones that have ham inside. But like I said, it can be anything. So normally the croqueta is done with a base that is bechamel. So the white sauce that you've seen inside is a thick roux, is a thick bechamel that then you put in whatever leftover of meat, cheese, or even some vegetables. Mushrooms are quite popular, for example. Even some fish. Here in the north, we do like croquetas with cod and things like that. And then you let the dough of the croqueta, this thick bechamel, cool over, preferably overnight, just so it has more consistency. And then you just scoop it out the following day. You pass it through flour, egg, and I don't know if you can see, these are actually breadcrumbs, but the Spanish idea of breadcrumbs, which is a very, very, very thin breadcrumb. And then you just fry it, preferably deep fry it, so then it's consistently fried all over. But that's it. So it's not a very difficult thing to make. It just takes time. And like I said, you can literally put in there anything that you want. It does look good. I love croquetas. And again, croquetas is one of those things that, depending who's making it, they have their own twist. They add their own special ingredient. And croquetas, unlike rabas, is a tapa that you can find everywhere in Spain. I cannot think of a single place in Spain where you cannot go and order some croquetas and people will look at you funny. This is definitely one of the most Spanish dishes that you can find alongside with a Spanish omelette, for example. So glad you can enjoy your time with your family. Yes, Catherine, it's good. My family, as long as it's going out for food, they hardly ever complain. They are good like that. This is good fun. Hi, Alison. Hi, David. How are you doing? Thank you so much for joining. Yes, it does look delicious. And yes, they are very similar to some things that they do in Japan as well, Jay. It's kind of that idea of, with a bit of dough and leftovers, then you just repurpose food. And it's a really good way of making sure things don't go to waste. And the other thing as well, if you make these, you can even freeze up the croquetas with the full batter and everything. You can throw them in the freezer, take them out, and just throw them into the frying pan and have them any other day. So they are very high in carbs. It's something that you can do small for bites. It's something that you can do big for a big meal. And they are very, very versatile. And that's also why they're one of the stars of Spanish food anywhere that you go. I'm hungry for one of those now. Well, Cheryl, it's actually quite a simple recipe. So, if you want to know more about croquetas, happy to share. Right, I'm just going to turn the camera around so I can try one of these before the massacre starts. because I can see. Come on. Okay, my mom is telling me that they're very hot. See, these ones have is jamón york, no? So this is what we call jamón york, which for British people, this is going to be particularly funny. We say that this ham is from York, the town, and I'm not really sure why, because in the UK, we just call this ham, because for us, our ham is jamón serrano, serrano ham. That's the ham that we are used to. But again, you can do them with serrano ham, you can do them with chorizo, with whatever you want. My favorite recently that my dad has been making had a duck and what was the other thing you put on those ones? Duck and apple, believe it or not. So something like that can go inside a croqueta very well. And a croqueta that I particularly love is la croqueta de cocido. Cocido is a specific stew that we make here in Spain a lot, which is done with beans normally, a little bit of a specific type of kale from the north, and then different bits of meat. Pork belly, chorizo, our version of black pudding, which is different, whatever. All of those meats that after they've been cooked, you grab them, they're very tender, they're very soft. You just throw them in the dough of the croquetas. Very nice. Very nice. But you can do vegetarian croquetas as well. So, like I said, another very popular and very cheap vegetarian croqueta is boiled egg. You boil egg and you dice it, or you make it into small filaments, and you can have egg croquetas, and they're actually very, very tasty. So as you can see, you can do anything with a croqueta. Hi, David. I've just seen you come in. Sorry, the chat is going a little bit slow. Thank you so much, Joy. Very, very kind. Anything for breakfast would work right now. You can have croquetas for breakfast. This is not a problem. I endorse it 100%. And I'm not one for having croquetas for breakfast often, but this is something I would happily do. For me, Canadian bacon is just bacon. Well, the same thing. For us, jamon is jamon. That's it. See, for example, this one. My dad was just explaining to me the reason why here we call it jamon York, why we call it York ham, which is because apparently the first process to boil ham was actually developed in York. Obviously in Britain it's just ham, but for us it's that ham that the British people boiled and made in York. Because, we Spanish people are quite straightforward for these things. These croquetas are a little bit different than the ones we make from home. Normally, our breadcrumbs are a bit more noticeable. These ones are a lot more fine and almost like a thin crust. So different ways in which people do it. Some people add nutmeg to the bechamel, some others don't. It's a matter of taste, a matter of what works for you and what doesn't. But again, it's a type of recipe that is very adaptable, which is again something else Spanish people like. Anything that can be modified and suited better for the different regions. Remember that Spain is a very large country. The UK fits twice in Spain in terms of actual size. And we have lots of diverse climates, lots of different cultures, and that's the reason why. Do your parents or your restaurant? No, this is not our restaurant. No, this is just a cafeteria here in one of the main streets, not far away from where we live, Cheryl. This is just a local, essentially. Because that's the thing, we're not even somewhere fancy. This is just an ordinary place. You can come here to have a beer, to have coffee, or to have a proper display. It's entirely up to you. But there you go. Next. Come, no te quedes con hambre. Seems my sister has now laid off the hunger. She's been studying all morning, so she needs food to keep going. But this is how it goes, guys. So as you can see, it's a very chill thing. You don't have to have a particular reason to go out for tapas. You just mostly need to be hungry. It helps being hungry. And this is normally the time of the day where we do it. For tapas, you normally go out before lunch, kind of like as an aperitif. And then you will have a lighter lunch, because in Spain, normally the strong meal, the hard meal is lunchtime rather than dinner. Or you can do it sort of in the late afternoon, evening. You can exchange your merienda for tapas as well. Or you can go out for a light dinner and just do tapas and do a little bit of pick and mix and just share everything and have it that way. So it's, like I said, it's really just a way of eating more than a specific type of food. So it's very, very versatile. The important thing with croquetas is make sure that you don't burn yourself, because they're obviously quite hot. But as you can see, and just so you can realize how hungry these people are, this is all mostly gone. No more rabas, no more croquetas. There's just a little bit of the little broth left, and all of the drinks are done. So this is the right pace. I mean, this is a good time to do this, about 30 minutes to an hour for tapas, perfect. And then you go home and you have lunch, which is essentially what we are going to do as soon as these croquetas are done and dusted. But that's how we do tapas. I don't know if you guys have any more questions. I'm literally just gonna fill the last croqueta, and that would be pretty much the end of the tour. But this is the way we eat here in Spain, particularly in the north of Spain, obviously. But as you can see, there is a bit of variety and diversity for everybody. So, if you ever come to Spain, don't worry, you will not be hungry, regardless of what you eat, whether you have intolerances or specific diets or whatever. One good thing that Spain has is that we have a lot of diversity in food, and we are actually quite forgiving in that sense. You would have to go somewhere really remote and out of the way to not find somewhere where you could eat happily and actually for a relatively affordable price. Eating in Spain like everywhere, doesn't have to be expensive at all, and you can eat very, very well just for a couple of more bites. So I'm just gonna finish the last croqueta in your honors, guys. This was still warm. Nice. Oh, Pasquina, thank you so much for joining. We're literally just about to finish the tour. I'm sorry. I can see how hungry you are. What can I say, John? The food doesn't lie. El algodón no engaña. That was a commercial here for a cleaning product. If you pass the cotton ball, it will not lie if something is clean or not. It's the same here. When I first went to Spain, I just didn't get the whole tapas idea and found it hard to find somewhere to get a proper meal. Well, again, it depends where you go, because there are restaurants that are literally just for tapas, so you are not going to sit down and have a proper meal. So it's also important to understand that not every single restaurant is a restaurant to sit down and eat proper, and there are places where you will just have tapas. Normally, most bars will just have tapas, but you can normally tell just by looking at the menu. And again, it can be very different depending on which part of the country you go. Down south, for example, when my mom and I were down there in Seville, and some of you took some tours with us, there was a lot of places for tapas. But then again, there is also a practical reason for that. In the middle of the heat, down in Seville, you don't want to sit down and have a proper meal because you may just die. So having a couple of bits to eat, it's enough to keep you going. But yes, you need to. That's the reason why I also wanted to demystify the idea of tapas. This is not just like a regular meal. You can do it, of course, but this is just a way of eating, kind of communally for the sake of the social activity and for obviously filling in your stomach. Thank you so much, Jay. I very much appreciate it. Thanks for eating and drinking for us. Well, I'm glad, Dorley. Normally, I don't get sunk by these people to eat and drink for them, so I'm glad. I'm glad that you enjoyed it, and that's helped you guys have some idea. Do you ever go home from Portsmouth by ferry? No, I don't, John, mostly because it takes a really long time. And if the channel gets a bit choppy, you can be stuck in there for quite some time. My parents have done it from I don't know if it was from Portsmouth or Dover, but yeah, they actually got caught in the storm, and it can be quite expensive too these days. So it's just not practical for me. But yeah, it's an experience, but not one that I particularly would like to emphasize. My mom was doing an experience. Like that. That was more or less the gesticle. In case you have. Are there lots of vegetarian options? Well, Tariq, I know Spain has quite a sort of fame for just being meat, but that's not really just all we eat. Mediterranean diet is very much based on vegetarian options. There is many things that you can eat as a tapa or as a meal here in Spain that are perfectly vegetarian. Completely vegan, maybe a little bit harder, but I cannot think of many places where you wouldn't be able to find something. One of the best things about having a Mediterranean diet is that worst comes to worst, there's always going to be plenty of fresh salads done on the day with quality produce from the land that you will always eat. I know that obviously a salad may not be what you want to eat every day, but it works. If you are really, really pushed for options, there will always be that. And again, Spanish cuisine works a lot with pulses, with grains, with beans, with lentils, with chickpeas. It doesn't get seen a lot. But we work with that a lot, and normally those stews is the pulse and vegetables. Of course, you can add meat to it, but in the same way that you can add meat to it, you can remove it. And we have many soups as well. So yes, it's actually very easy for vegetarian people to eat here in Spain. And in this day and age, most main cities have also options for people with, well, it can be a bit harder maybe for gluten and for lactose, but it's getting a lot better. But I mean, of course, the main thing is that you need to kind of know a little bit about the food and know what you are looking for. Otherwise, you may just go anywhere and it may be difficult to navigate. So if you're thinking of coming here and you have dietary, requirements, I would suggest you do a little bit of research just to make sure that, there's also parts of the country where it will be easier and some others where you will struggle more. So that's also something to consider. Again, if you're going to be in rural parts of Castile, where they're probably just going to give you more pork and I guess lamb than anything else, you may struggle. But in general urban areas, it's relatively easy. I'm not going to say super easy, and it's everywhere, but it's relatively easy. But there we go. Oh, yes. Well, in Seville, Ginny, that would have been a struggle for sure. But yes, and that's it for today, guys. Sorry, Chris and Yalda, we're literally just coming to the end. Thank you so much, John, for leaving that for me. But that's it. So food is over. We need to pay and go. Well, I need to pay and go. So I'll see you guys later. Thank you so much for spending some time with us eating. And hopefully I'll see you later on this week, where we're going to be going to El Sardinero, to La Magdalena, and we will also be having a couple of walks around Santander. So see you later. Take care. And if I don't see you before the end of the week, Merry Christmas if you're celebrating. Bye-bye. Thank you so much. Bye.